In a faraway land, evil Queen Janice has banned all good food, and Sorted are on a quest to stop her. A weekend of live fun and incredible food, featuring over 11 hours of epic Foodie formats, a TV crew, and a castle. Live. Don't miss our end-of-year extravaganza and come together as a community to interact, take control, and keep your eyes peeled, as one of us is a secret traitor.
Hello everyone, we are all in for a treat, not just us here in the studio, but you guys watching at home.
Yep, we have let Kush off the leash again. So proper chefy tips and tricks as we look at picky bits. That's what we call them, but maybe party food. Kush, what's on the menu?
Start to finish, chicken liver parfait with Madeira jelly, tea-soaked raisins, and some rye bread. The second one is, oh sorry Mike, it's stuffed olives. Deep fried, served with tomato sauce.
Tomato
sauce.
Keep that up those sleeves.
You've never heard of it?
Nope.
Great. Third, we're going for deep fried prawns.
Great.
In wonton skins.
You've won me back.
Yeah. And we're finishing with a pisella d'hier. Onions, anchovies, olives, pastry.
Less is more classic.
Classic.
Excellent.
All pair well with a variety of drinks.
Some of these could also absolutely double up as appetizers, starters, or a little hors d'oeuvre.
Oh, most certainly.
Excellent. This is going to be great. Where are we starting?
We're starting with a chicken liver parfait. So chicken liver parfait, parfait meaning perfect. So we're looking for something silky smooth. It's not a pate, which has texture. So we're going to start off by making the reduction. So the flavour base of the parfait. So butter, shallot, garlic, thyme, and bay leaf into a pan. And then we're going with allspice. You can use 5-spice. Really nice in this. The star anise works really well with everything that's coming.
Festive season.
It's
festive season.
Exactly. And we're not looking to sweat this down or add any colour to it, just starting to warm it up, because essentially we're going to drown it in alcohol.
Oh.
So the best way, we have cognac to give that lovely rounded flavour. We have ruby port to bring sweetness and a bit of tannin to it, and Madeira. So Madeira is one of those alcohols that we don't use enough in this country, but used throughout France, even though it's Portuguese. So it's port.
Okay, port.
So it gives a lovely woody note and aroma to the food, and gives a really nice balance against the bitterness of the livers and the sweetness of the shallots.
And it feels like when this dish is finally served, you could serve it with any one of those 3 drinks on the side as a short tipple if you wanted to sort of start your picky bit party with some of the more alcohol strength.
Are you leading somewhere?
No, we're going to serve it slightly differently,
Okay,
but they are all great options to pair.
Yeah. So that needs to simmer and bubble away on a medium-low for, let's say, 2 hours, as long as it gets to this stage.
Okay, marmalade.
Flavour. So you see a bit of the butter's spit out. I've left the thyme in there because it's all going to be blended together. And that is essentially the jammiest, most concentrated, boozy, sweet shallots. That I'll put to the back. We'll use that later to make another one.
It is nearly Christmas.
It is nearly Christmas, and we've got a lot of staff to feed. Obviously, start everything by blending. So parfait, perfectly smooth. So high-powered blender and a sieve. So we go in with our reduction, eggs, chicken livers that have been cleaned, a big pinch of good salt, and a tiny, about 3 grams of curing salt.
Curings, so salt for curing things.
Yeah, it's saltpeter, it's sodium nitrite. So rather than sodium chloride, which is regular salt, this is sodium nitrite. So this is what helps keep the colour. This is what goes into cured meat products, such as salamis and hams. That's why they're pink and not brown throughout. So we're going to blend this on high, and as it's blending, we're going to pour in the melted butter. So you're taking really cheap ingredients, chicken livers and shallots, some herbs.
The booze is the most expensive part of that, actually.
Yeah. Well, current climate, butter's quite expensive. So you're elevating really inexpensive by adding luxury. right?
Could you chuck in, I know you compromise on the flavour profiles, but what could you chuck in place of the booze if you don't want to put booze in it?
So you can, rather than making a reduction, a cheat is sweat your shallots off and spend a lot of time sweating them off and get the sweetness out of that. And as you're blending it, just put a tiny shot of each booze into it, or just a shot of port or cognac. You'll get the flavour, but not the full depth. But that's fine. You're saving quite a bit because putting 100 millilitres of each expensive alcohol in from the beginning does cost money.
Yeah.
Or you just, if you don't already have those in your sort of liquor cabinet, any one of them rather than all three.
So, totally smooth. We're going to strain it though, because we left the bay in there and the thyme. You don't want a mouthful of that.
That looks like chocolate milkshake.
Oh,
It does.
imagine doing a poker face.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Just raw parfait.
4 of you have chocolate milkshake, 1 of you has raw liver parfait.
Into a dish that you're happy to serve, then into a bain-marie once it's foiled. So I've got a tray with hot water in the oven. The oven is set at 100 degrees C. We're going to cook this for about an hour till the internal temp reaches 64 C. We're going to serve it with some cornichon, some pickled onions, some rye bread, all store-bought. We're going to do some tea-soaked raisins instead of a chutney, although I've already got a chutney on the dressed board ready, and a Madeira jelly to cap it off. Sometimes you'll see it at the deli counter, that thin slice of jelly on top of a pate. Yeah. It gives a nice shine to it. And the top of that is going to come out of the oven later, looking a bit dimpled and mottled and grey. So we're going to hide that with a jelly. And that's really this simple. We've got the same Madeira that went in it, about 200 ml. Just warm it up, not boil it, because you want to keep all the flavour and alcohol in it. We have 2 leaves of gelatin that have been soaked and softened. And as soon as they're dissolved, you pull it off. And we're going to pour that over the pate once it's finished.
And then you put it in the fridge to set.
Then you put it in the fridge to set.
Brilliant.
Tea-soaked raisins, great one. This can go through couscous. This can go through pretty much anything where you want to eat raisins. But raisins for me are just a bit too sweet. So we're going to impregnate the raisins with tea, the bitterness and the tannins from tea. We're going to make a very strong tea and steep the raisins in it.
While Kush moves on to the second dish, which is very much like canapé aperitif, I thought we should crack on with the first drink.
I've got a personal chef and a sommelier. I'm living the actual dream.
So we're going to start with the gin and tonic, a wonderful welcome drink. This is an Italian blood orange gin.
Great.
With tonic. There's one for you there as well, chef.
Woo. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy party.
Oh, that's crisp.
fantastic.
A flavour of southern Italy. Kush, where are we going next?
We're going to Italy, but Italian-American.
Okay.
We're going to take one of my favourite snacks to have while drinking, olives, pitted. I'm going to stuff it with sausage meat, chopped scamorza, which is the smoked hung mozzarella-like cheese.
Unbelievable stuff.
And some pastrami. Tonato sauce, classic sauce that goes with roast veal, vitello tonato. The tonato being tuna.
Tuna sauce.
Essentially, it's a tuna mayo
Great.
sauce.
I'm in.
Right? So we're going to blend really good tuna, some anchovies in the oil from the anchovies, some parsley, some mustard, eggs, do a pull through, and that's it. So we're going to have little golf ball nuggets and tuna sauce. Right? So we'll start off by stuffing a few olives. These are never going to be perfect because they're too small. You'll never find a mammoth olive big enough to take enough filling. So we're going to mix this together. Basically, we're going to open the olive out and then cap it off with a third bit of olive.
Ah.
Right?
So you're adding a third more to the space within.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, olives are already an excellent something to accompany drinks because they are briny, they're salty, they've got that kind of fruitiness, the pepperiness. They just make you want to drink a bit more, which is why they're often, like peanuts, put on bars or given to you on the table because they encourage you to bounce between drink and that initial first bite.
Yeah. We're going to panade these, flour, egg wash, breadcrumbs. They're done.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we've seen paneing 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Single pane, it's not a liquid centre, it doesn't need a double pane. So pull through all the juice and the oil, half the tuna.
This is an unusual sauce because there's not many sauces that are protein based.
Yeah.
However, I remember the first time I had this sauce and it just blew my mind.
Some parsley for a bit of freshness and colour. We'll top it off with some olive oil.
And if you really can't be bothered to stuff olives at home, just that with some crispy bread or some crudité is yummy.
So they're going to fry. Give it a light stir. It looks golden brown on some of them already. I'm going to pour that onto a plate. They're going to rest, and that's the first dish nearly done.
Could you fry all these ahead of time and then just warm them through in the oven?
Yes, something like this where the filling is a dry filling. It has got the cheese in there that you want to be a bit gooey, but we're not looking for a cheese pull. It's just for a bit more fat.
I tell you what, these with the dry martini, that is date night. Look at that. Perfect golden brown.
I've never been so excited to eat an olive.
Excellent job.
First
Bring them
olive
this way.
I've ever wanted to eat.
It looks simple, but like simply stunning. Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. It's fantastic.
It's fruity, it's salty, a little bit of smoky cheese pull, crunchy.
It's phenomenal. It's not overpoweringly fishy. It's got essence, nods to the sea.
Ooh, what else? Vegetarian, you could mash up loads of lentils and spinach and
Aubergine.
Roasted, smoky, really dry aubergine and fill it in there. And this needs to bind. You need the tack and the stickiness that you get from sausage meat. So if you can find that another way, fantastic.
They are absolutely incredible. We're going to carry on picking. What's next?
Next, we're going for deep fried prawns. So fully peeled, lovely deveined prawns that I've just slit the bottom with a knife.
So they go straight.
So they go straight. We're going to marinate them in Sichuan peppercorn, ginger, garlic, and soy sauce. Really simple. And then we're going to wrap it in wonton skins and deep fry it. I know what you're thinking. What's the point, Kush? Why are you even here? You can buy these at any supermarket, ready-made in the freezer. We're going to change it by turning that into spaghetti.
I didn't see that coming.
No. So the best thing about a crispy fried bit of shellfish or crispy fried anything, let's be honest, is the crispiness, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to roll up our standard spring roll wrappers that you can buy in the freezer section of many supermarkets nowadays. And we're going to go through it with a knife and just cut it as fine as possible so it looks like vermicelli.
And how do wonton wrappers differ from like a phyllo pastry?
So when cooked, these have more of a crunch and a crack, where phyllo is a bit lighter and thinner. It doesn't have the elasticity or the gluten formation in this kind of pastry. You don't get the crunch, you get a little crumble, let's say, on a fried phyllo.
Yeah, it's like a flake, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to marinate the prawns. So as I said, Sichuan and a tiny bit of really thick batter made out of flour and water. So this gives the stickiness. So imagine we're doing a penne, flour, egg, breadcrumbs. But
And
we're
it's
using
a wheat flour as opposed to like a rice flour.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
So we're doing batter fried prawns but are wrapped in the crispiness. So that's the panko, breadcrumbs. This is both the flour and the egg.
Yeah.
So just over the top. Get very messy, mix it all together, get all the flavour into that.
Now these are absolute like showstopper showpieces. However, pretty easy to do en masse if you've got a big bucket of your batter and your marinade and your prawns and a setup like this where you're working very efficiently in one direction.
And there's not much prep involved in these. Frozen prawns, defrost. And that's it. We're looking for a relatively loose prawn wrapped in pastry. You can still see a bit of prawn through there. The oil will go through, you get full crunch. We're going to deep fry it and serve it with some really delicious. What you can do is make these in advance, put them in the fridge, and when you're ready to fry them, they'll set up a bit and then just deep fry them, which I've done. So we're going to go into the oil, as we did with the olives, fry them, let them rest. And while they rest, we'll make a little dipping sauce.
Kush and I discussed what would be excellent drinks pairing for this, and whilst you could absolutely find some delicious wines, we thought, these need beer.
Oh, I'm having the best day ever.
So I've added them all in. It's a lot in one pan, but because they need to cook through, it'll cool the temperature down of the oil, won't overcook the pastry before the prawns cook through. Put the temperature up to high and they'll just bubble away. We're not looking for too much colour. Dipping sauce for these. We have the world's best crispy chili oil. We have some Chinese chicken powder, just chicken stock powder with
a lot of MSG.
MSG in it. Fried garlic. And we
Is
have
that to thicken it?
no, this is just going to garnish over the top.
Oh, so this is more crunch.
Chinese black vinegar will cut through the richness and the fat. And some salt and pepper seasoning, which is simply salt, sugar, white pepper, MSG, 5-spice and chili flake. So you see the colour now, it's just starting to go yellow.
Yeah.
That means they're done. Salt and pepper
The
seasoning
moment that
outside.
hit the hot oil, I can smell it.
Yeah, you can smell that 5-spice straight away. And then the sauce is as simple as mixing good chili oil, use your favourite one, or chili crisp, black vinegar, that's the sauce. We're going to go over with some coriander, some spring onions and the crispy garlic.
Beautiful.
That's it.
It is simple, but it's only when you combine all these picky bits that it becomes a mountain of work to do.
Yeah.
So what I suggest is pick one of these as your favourites and add it to next time you're doing chips and dips, and then slowly scale and add more as you get more comfortable with doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing difficult there.
You can wrap halloumi that's been covered in honey and harissa in wonton skins and deep fry it. You've got a Middle Eastern spin veggie version of this.
Wow!
I'll do your trade, chef. You give us those, I'll give you a beer.
Lovely.
Excited for this.
This is going to be filth to eat.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's finger food. Look, it's in my fingers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow.
Wow. What I love is the explosion of wonton skin when you bite into it. If I served those to people who had come round, they would think I'm a god.
So yummy. Dare I ask what's next?
We're going for, it's an onion tart. It can be made with bread. It can be made with short crust pastry. I'm using store-bought puff that I've scored a line around and docked with a little roller. Taken onions, thinly sliced them, cooked them really slowly in olive oil with thyme and bay leaf, salt and pepper till they look like this. It's not red onions, it's white onions cooked down really gently.
And how long are we talking?
These had about an hour and a half. Onto the pastry.
Up there with the parfait that we haven't yet tasted, this is about as classic French as it gets.
Exactly.
Different region, but delicious.
Yeah. We've got the same brand as the tuna, the best anchovies you can get really on a supermarket shelf. Beautiful, plump, juicy, not too salty. So we're focusing on quality.
Yeah.
And a la Grec olives.
Greek olives.
They look a bit like the Flair raisins in the fact they're not completely dried, but they're slightly dried. They're like the equivalent of a sun-dried tomato in olive form.
Oh yeah, they are really juicy, aren't they?
Yeah,
Fruity.
so they are dried olives.
I don't mind that.
Rather than, really, very punchy compared to a brined olive.
And for me, that tastes meatier and brinier than it does olivey-ish.
Onions on the pastry.
Yeah.
Anchovies and olives into a lattice. So that took about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So into a hot oven, 220 degrees C for about 40 minutes. It's quite a while, but there's a lot of moisture in those onions still. You want the pastry on the outside to be a dark golden and the pastry underneath to be crisp. The worst thing is having a soggy bottom on this, okay? I'll cook that one later, and this is what it looks like once it's cooled down.
Wow.
So baked and cooled, and hopefully you should be able to pick it up if it's been cooked properly and
Which is
flip
why
it to camera without knowing what it looks like underneath.
Which is why the 40 minutes is important, because you're going to dry it out and crisp it up.
Yeah.
Wow, it looks almost as good as the top.
So it won't burn because the oven's not hot enough to burn. It'll just carry on cooking, getting all the moisture out. You might have to burp your oven now and again to let the air out.
So you mean open it?
Open it, let
some
steam
hot air
out. Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
And that's it. You serve that on the table, put a knife next to it, or you cut it up ready for guests.
Cut a few slices for us. I'm going to pour this, which is a French wine, different region of France. I know you're not a big wine drinker, Mike, so this is very out there as a wine. You may or may not like it. It's a Gewürztraminer. So it's got
French.
It's the Alsace region of France.
Okay.
But
Strasbourg.
it's got lots of like ginger and rose and floral notes to it, as well as a lot of fruit. And with the salty, briny stuff, should work quite nicely. Just off dry. So it's not a sweet wine, but it is off dry.
This is another thing that's just going to disintegrate as soon as I bite into it, Charles.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Charles.
Cheers, chef.
I mean this in the nicest possible way, France. But it tastes so much better than it looks. I mean, it looks cool, but tastes of so much more than it looks. Is that offensive?
No.
It's salty and well seasoned from the anchovy and olive, but the onions are so sweet and rich, and because you cooked them down for so long, they're not. But they almost give me like miso vibes with the butter. Like there's so much umami. It's not miso because it's not fermented, blah, 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 blah. But it gives that oomph of just deliciousness that you only get from thyme.
Yep. Ready for a bit of chicken liver parfait?
Yeah, let's try it.
Chicken liver parfait that I made yesterday. So it's sat in the fridge with the jelly on top. Pulled it out of the fridge about an hour and a half ago. Not to warm up, just so it doesn't have that ice cold nature to it. You're eating butter and protein in here. So if it's straight out of the fridge, it's gonna be really firm.
Yeah, it's not Kit Kat.
No. So the jelly's just got
Such a normal thing
a
to
little
say.
wobble on it. And then we've got quince cheese, goes really well with the parfait. Pickled cornichon and onions, and the raisins.
Can't
that
wait
have
to try those.
Plumped up, become lovely and juicy, and just supermarket rye sourdough. That's been toasted, let it go cold, so it's firm, because
But it's
that's
still
so
got some
soft.
chew,
Exactly.
and it's not
Yeah. You
just
can do it
rock
with
solid.
brioche,
Yeah.
but
Which is probably traditional, but
Very
I'm
traditional.
with you. It's like there's already enough sweetness and
yeah.
enrichedness going on. And we're finishing this, we got a bottle of red that was already open from another filming, so we're finishing with that. It's a bold red. We are drinking a lot, but you'll notice they're very small measures.
We've been drinking water
This is
in between.
these are tasting measures, not glass of wine measures.
So we're looking for a lovely, I'd say a lovely rose interior.
That layer of jelly with the beautiful pink parfait underneath.
Bit of the membrio,
'Tis the season of indulgence.
a couple of raisins, and then chase it with a pickle.
Like a pickleback.
Yeah.
Really easy to serve at a party,
Yeah.
because you can do it all the day before when no one's watching. Cheers.
Kush, thank you, mate. That is velvet. Oh,
It's also my kind of service style, because yes, you're right, you can make it in terrine and slice it, you can pipe it onto fancy canapes, but this way everyone can take as much or as little as they want, and that is A-okay.
tell you what's amazing about that is it's so smooth, but when you bite into it, I felt rich butter coming through, and then the liver starts to come through, the meatiness, and it almost gets to the point where you're like, offal, then it stops. And then it's just smooth,
Roundness of-
fatty deliciousness that's left with. It's like there's a real build-up in your mouth, and then it just goes,
And roundness of, I would say, the port and Madeira coming through so nicely, because there's a richness of booze without burn of alcohol or anything like that. You just have the fruit.
That is such a journey. What? Mate, that jelly is so alcoholic.
That jelly is 40% Madeira.
Yeah.
Just neat.
And I think that is always the case with these particular episodes, is nobody at home is going to go and cook those 4 things and serve them up for friends on the same occasion. It's just too much. But there are so many little tips and tricks that we can take from this, even if it's only the tea-soaked raisins. Everything here...
It's just
has been a-
inspirational, isn't it?
That's a thought.
It's inspiration, mate.
And it's delicious at that.
Also, we're doing a Christmas show. You should definitely get tickets and come and watch. It's over an entire weekend. It's called Traitor at Culinary Castle. It's going to be mad. All the link in the description.
The food's going to be epic, but I doubt it's going to be as delicate as these.
Yeah, it's more challenge-based, but hey, you know.
Cheers, chef.
Cheers.
Cheers.